Hello. Okay, I'm live. Let's post this link. Do, 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 do. I was about to say someone's here, and then I realised it's me. Okay, this one won't be too long in terms of a quick live lesson because there isn't major amounts of stuff that I need to tell you in terms of exploration. So let's get this up. Got a change of scenery today, and that we are. Hi, Tony. We're in my room today rather than the salon. It's just salon, so you've got all my pictures up on the wall. Hi, Tyler. Right. I am gonna kind of get going on this one. Hi, Sunny. And there's my dogs barking at the Hoover. Excellent. I am not going to be on here too long. The task that I've set you, I've tried to kind of scale things back for you because we've only got 2 lessons left. And before I'm going to set you a mock, and I'm going to give you a good week or so to do that because even though there's only 3 questions, I understand with the lack of structure that you've got kind of in your lives at the moment with no school, you're going to need longer to do it. So we've got, this is the last kind of major piece of work that you do for me. Next week, I am going to set you a YouTube video to watch on Roanoke, and then it'll be really then just a bit of revision that I'm going to set you next week. So it's not major stuff now. This is our last kind of real proper lesson on Elizabeth. So in terms of exploration then, we know from our studies in terms of looking at the relationship with Spain, and we know that looking from from a Francis Drake point of view, that exploration was happening during Elizabethan times. But we need to know why it was happening and why it then grew under Elizabeth's leadership. Now, in the late 1400s, so before Henry VIII had even kind of come into power at this point, exploration was starting to happen all over the world. And there was a major aim to search for a passage or a route to China, as well as to India. So for China, you've got like the tea aspect and the opium. So it's not like what we've got with China today, in that quite a lot of products come from China. It's more looking at opium, so that's, which can be quite an addictive substance, and tea, obviously, because we're British. And then India, it was silk and spices. Now, up until Elizabeth comes, we are seen as the poor relation in exploration terms. We don't really do very much when it comes to exploration. We can't. We've got very limited resources, and the biggest players in this exploration world stage is Spain and Portugal. Portugal is not part of Spain at this point. It is its own separate country. So sailors from Spain and Portugal explored new continents. They split up set up trade routes, and they conquered lands and peoples, including the Aztec Empire. That Christopher Columbus, I believe, was Spanish. She says she's put that out in the world, hoping that's right. So I believe he was of Spanish descent. So you've got the fact that Spain are really dominating at this point. That's why they are one of the most powerful, or the most powerful country in the world in the Elizabethan times. It's because they've got this established exploration and trade routes, and then this empire that's reaching far and wide. Now, during Elizabeth's reign, we know that there were sailors that were challenging this, like Sir Francis Drake, Sir Walter Raleigh, who were a major part in creating a successful reputation, and English exploration campaign. Now, there were 8 major reasons, okay, for why exploration increased during Elizabeth's reign. Now, there was the conflict with Spain. So it was the fact that there was a rivalry between Spain and England. We know that from looking at the Armada and the fact with the Netherlands. We know that there was an issue with England and Spain, and that actually exploration, if we were the poor relation and Spain were the best at this, we want to amp up our competition with them. And we were able to see that Spain were getting a lot of profit from this trade link, this exploration, and we wanted a piece of that. So it was a case of we could either go and explore ourselves, which we did, but also we could attack the Spanish ships and get that the riches from there. Now, another way, excuse me, this always happens when I'm on camera. Another reason for the growth and exploration was new technology in ships and sailing. So the design of ships changed, and the way that they navigated these ships also developed, which meant that ships could go on longer voyages and that they could have a much better sense of direction. Before sailors, these new developments in the 16th century, sailors would use the stars to navigate, which was fine, but it could become unreliable. People's interpretations were exactly that. They were interpretations, which meant that you could have things that would take you off course. You would have potential changes in the star patterns in terms of where you were and people misreading them. So it was quite an unreliable source. But in 1569, sorry, there was a Flemish map maker, so that's a Belgian guy called Gerardus Mercator, who developed sea charts based on longitude and latitude. So very similar to what we do now. You also have things like astrolabes, so which are like big, large brass rings fitted with like a sighting rule. So it was effectively an early compass. So you could find the true north. Again, it was quite unreliable in terms of looking at the stars and using that to find north. So then they found like a proper magnetic compass that would then find the north and the south and that sense of direction. Your next one was the expansion of trade. So nearly all trade was through woolen cloth. We know that through the sheep farming. And it was about 75% of all British trade at this point. Now, once the wool trade collapsed, the English merchants needed to find new markets to sell their goods with. So by exploring the world, Elizabeth was able to set up new trade routes, new partners to trade with, and it then allowed the economy to begin to rebuild and have a place for merchants to sell their goods. Our fourth reason was the opportunity to make money. I don't think I need to say too much about that, but the upper class in England were very willing to put the money up for overseas voyages as a way to make a quick profit. So they would pay for the preparation. So, for example, Queen Elizabeth helped Sir Francis Drake in his voyages, in that they would she'd pay for the repair on the ships. She would pay for the supplies in return for like 20% of what Drake brought back, which meant that there was a very quick way for rich people to make money. Your fifth reason for exploration, another quite straightforward one, was that desire to spread Protestantism. So remember that England at the moment are kind of your main country that have Protestantism as their main religion. Everywhere else in Europe is Catholic. So it was a way for Elizabeth to go out and spread Protestantism across the world, and potentially get some allies, because let's face it, she had quite a lot of enemies because she wasn't Catholic. Your sixth reason for the growth in exploration was the fact there was a duty to civilize other cultures. Now, this is a little bit where things get quite potentially dark in our history as an English person, is that there was a real feeling amongst the the English and very much the Spanish and the Portuguese that we were living in the civilized world. We had a established system in that there was a there was a very set hierarchy. Society functioned very similarly in Europe, and these European countries felt it was their duty to go out to other countries in Africa, America, India, Asia, those sort of places, and civilize them, meaning that they would use the knowledge that they had to change and how else do I put it? Mold these countries into sort of like little satellites of their little like satellite states almost, like what Russia did with the Cold War and the Eastern Bloc. Also, they felt that by civilizing these cultures, it would lead directly to profit. So it would be a direct way of getting these riches from these countries. If they were then in the country, civilizing them, helping them structure their country in a different way, it would be a way to get more money. Your penultimate, or your seventh reason was that was the seventh reason, I think. Oh no, seventh is new learning and knowledge. Okay, so there was these ideas that the increasing of learning and the thirst for knowledge and an thing for adventure would then mean that people could explore further. So this kind of renaissance, so with painting, with literature, there was a real rejuvenation of learning and a thirst for knowledge, and that then meant that once they had got all the knowledge from these particular their own countries, like England, like Spain, they would go out to further countries and learn more and get a better idea of what the world was like, in a thirst for knowledge, so that they could then again unlock these riches. And your final reason for the growth of exploration was the increased experience of sailors. Now, English seamen were well trained. They had grown up in quite a lot of seafaring communities. Obviously, England isn't, and Great Britain and the UK, it is an island. So if we want to go anywhere beyond our country, we've got to sail. Now, these sailors were often merchant sailors, so they would then be used for piracy or smuggling, and that then meant that they would go further out, and experienced captains like Drake or John Hawkins or Raleigh were not just successful in leading overseas voyages, but they inspired quite a lot of great loyalty and affection from their crews, who were prepared to follow them around the world, and they gained a lot of respect from the men on their ships, as well as from people in higher classes looking at, the opportunity to make money to carry out these exploration missions. Now, if you have a little look, I'll show you this map. So this is then some of the voyages that Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh took around the world, because they then inspired other people to to go and do them. So you've got um, it's about finding empire and those new trade links, and this is like what was going on even in the late 1400s, 1500s. Not only Spanish and English, but Portuguese on there as well, and there was big trading links being set up. Now you don't need to know all these voyages. I just thought it was interesting, really. Now Drake's role in all of this, in being a part of exploring, was the fact that he did hate the Spanish. We know that. And he wanted to inflict damage on the empire. Now, because Drake had got such prestige in England and had got a lot of respect, people were seeing what he was doing and thought, okay, wow, okay, we can get in on this. So when he circumnavigates the world, meaning that he goes around the whole world, between 1568 and 1572, it really increases his prestige, but also then inspires people. Okay, if Drake can go around the world and set up new trade links even, and get Spanish gold and get a lot more riches, and as well as settle some personal vendettas with the Spanish, why can't I do this? And Drake becomes a real icon for exploration, and that's then what inspires Sir Walter Raleigh later on. And there are several of Drake's Drake's adventures, that's the word I'm looking for, that do this. So he sails to Brazil from December 1577 to April 1578. Because remember, it didn't take 5 minutes to get there. It was like months and months on a ship. Setting out from Plymouth, they captured Portuguese cargo, so they brought a lot back for Elizabeth, and again set up a new trade route. Then he sailed from Brazil to Guataluco from April 1578 to April 1579. Once again, getting a new, going to England, dropping stuff off and going back, setting up again another trade route, getting in on the riches. And finally, he then sailed from South America back to Plymouth in April 1579 to September 1580. And he was able to show the Queen what he'd been up to, show the British public, and bring back these foreign things like potatoes. They were a foreign food, okay, that people had never seen, and it was bringing things back that were new and exciting to the British public. Because once the British public had got an appetite for these new things like tea, like spices, like silk, it then became ingrained in British culture, and then there was a high demand for it. So that is all I'm going to say on exploration today, because then we move on to Sir Walter Raleigh's exploration, and that's when he goes and discovers Roanoke. Now, there is a lovely YouTube clip which I'll set you next week that we will look at, but all I want you to do in terms of your work is that it's on Teams and it is on Show My Homework as well, whichever is better for you. I just want you to use the 2 pages of the textbook that I've put on to find me 3 different pieces of evidence for the 8 different factors that I've talked about. Now, obviously, you can use this YouTube video as part to support, because I have used textbook to explain, but you are welcome to use the textbook that I have put onto Teams for you and Show My Homework. And literally, I just want you to fill in the PowerPoint and get me 3 bits of evidence for each factor. No more than 3. So if you only get 1, that's okay. But I want a piece of evidence for each of the 8 different factors for why exploration grew. Hope that's okay. Stay safe. That is due by Monday. So get it to me as and when you can by Monday. There is no rush. I understand that you are being set an awful lot of work, and I am a factor in that. But so that is for Monday. So don't panic, don't stress, just get it to me when you can. As long as I have it by Monday, that's brilliant. Stay safe, missing you absolutely loads, and I will see you next week. Contact me if you need me. Bye.